Today's episode is sponsored by Select Savory Seasonings. Have you ever noticed that most barbecue rubs on the market use sugar as the first or second ingredient? Worry no longer. With Select Savory Seasonings, they offer fresh, gourmet, small batch, sugar-free and additive-free seasonings and spices to help you make good, tasty food that is good for you so that you can lose weight, get healthy, and feel amazing. Check them out today at selectsavory.com and use coupon code PODCAST to receive 15% off your first order.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Simple Low Carb Lifestyle Podcast. I have my first repeat guest. Mandy Pagano is with us again today. After we recorded last time, I asked her if she would come back on to do a holiday special. We know that the holidays are difficult for many of us. We've all stumbled and fallen and had what we shouldn't have, and we turned a hollow day into a hollow week into a hollow year, and we ruined all of that hard work. And Mandy is, as you know, writes recipes for myketogenicKitchen.com. She's also very active with ketogenic.success.com and their Facebook page, Ketogenic Success. And ketogenic.success.com has a hyphen between the words, just so you know. So she has been helping not only herself and her own family, but lots of other people. So we're going to discuss some tips and tricks today on how to be successful through the holidays, maybe how to give yourself some grace when you do stumble and fall, because I've done it before and I just gave up the next day and went hog wild, and that doesn't do any good. So all that to say, thanks for being back.
Thank you for having me, Corey. I'm happy to be here.
So let's just start off with, what are some of the pitfalls that you see or the struggles people usually have this time of the year with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and how to best work through those so that they don't turn around and at the end of the holidays go, well, I ruined it, so why should I bother again?
The first thing I would say is, for anybody who really wants to go in depth into this, I've written a couple of pieces that are up on the Ketogenic Success website that actually talk about the psychology of the holidays, really. Holidays are a tough time to be on a diet. I mean, they just are. You're sitting, it doesn't matter if you're going out and shopping for gifts or if you're sitting in your house, you're bombarded with holiday food, and there's pumpkin spice this, and there's the table with the big spread with all the turkey and fixings and the rolls, on your television. And so the messages that we get from society at this time of year, starting with Halloween, is it's time to eat. It's eating season. Yes. And I actually personally have several friends that are not keto, whom I love to death, but they specifically start talking about this time of year from like late fall all the way through the winter as eating season.
Yes.
Officially.
Yep.
Yeah. And it can be really difficult to stick to your new lifestyle change or your diet or whatever it is you want to call it. Partially because you're bombarded with those signals, and you feel like you need to be a part of that in order to be participating in the holiday season. I actually think that's probably the biggest stumbling block that I see when I talk to people, keto and non-keto people. It's one of the main objections I've personally gotten during the holidays is, but it's not Christmas without X food. Or, the idea that you have to have this big feast, it has to include these foods and these traditions, or else you've ruined things. And I know, and it sounds silly. It does. It sounds silly when you say it out loud. It is so true. And it's just not Christmas without, my grandmother's, sweet potato pie or whatever it is. And the thing is that is, in my opinion, I think that is a matter of, it's people confusing like the trappings or the accidents of the holiday with the holiday itself and the purpose of the holiday. I mean, the purpose of the holidays, depending on, your faith background or whatever, Christmas is the celebration of Jesus's birth, or, there are other religious traditions. I believe, the Jewish one is escaping me. It's the Festival of Lights, Hanukkah. Hanukkah, it's right before it. Sometimes Ramadan falls around Christmas, depending on, how the calendar rolls. And then you've got Thanksgiving, here in the United States, which is a more secular holiday. But, the point in all of these is to get together with your family or the people that you love and that love you, and to spend good quality time and to be thankful for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that gets lost a lot of times in the idea that you have to try to create like your perfect Leave It to Beaver family Christmas. And everybody has to be wearing the matching clothes and everything has to look a certain way.
Yep.
And you have to have all of these traditions, like I said, or else you've ruined it all.
Right.
And that is conflating those accidents or the trappings or, the bow on the holiday with the holiday itself. And, that can be very difficult to work through. I think that it is just common for human beings. We have very vivid imagination and memory centers.
Right.
And everybody knows this. We associate certain smells and tastes with certain feelings.
Yep.
So when you smell like the crispness in the air outside in the fall, for example, you start feeling like you want to wear sweaters and you want to be cozy and, Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming. So we associate mentally all of those trappings with the emotions of love and joy and peace that we feel at the holidays. And so it's just a natural human tendency, because there are those connections in your brain, to start feeling like you have to have those things to evoke those feelings.
Right.
And so, that's, I think, the first major pitfall is just getting past the idea that you absolutely must have X, Y, and Z, or else everything is ruined.
Yeah.
And the truth is that it's not. I mean, what's the point of you gathering? Is it to have a pie or to have a turkey? Or is it to be with your loved ones and exchange gifts, or to pray for each other if you're religious, or, just to spend time, being a family? Well, obviously it's the latter.
Yeah.
So, the first thing would be to remember why you're there. It's not for the food. The food is a secondary thing.
Yep. It kind of reminds me of the play and the movie Fiddler on the Roof. Why do we do what we do? I don't know,
Tradition!
But it's tradition, and there's no other reason for it. And I think a lot of times, especially with the holidays, it is traditional. We've always done it this way.
Yes.
We can't change. And that's a lot with life in general. We've always done it that way, but does it make it right? Or is there not any way to compromise isn't the right word, but to adjust so that, I'm trying to better myself. I want to get healthier.
Yes.
I don't want to be 300, 400, 500 pounds. I don't want the pain and the aggravation. How can we work through this in a manner that, hey, we're all going to have a good time together no matter what?
Exactly. And you touched on really the next thing is that it's not just you that has these feelings.
Yep.
It's everyone in the party around you also probably feels like you have to have these trappings in order for your holiday to really be, a good time, or to be a success, or not ruined. And so you're not just dealing with your own internal pressures. There's that peer pressure that other people around you, can be very upset with you if, well, you're supposed to bring the green bean casserole every year and we're counting on you to do that. And you brought regular green beans instead, and so now you're a bad guy because you're not fulfilling their idea of what the perfect. Yes, you're not meeting those expectations, and that can be very difficult to deal with because we're social creatures. We want to be loved, we want to be accepted, and nobody wants to go to Christmas and have everybody angry at them. Yeah. I mean, people fight over so many stupid things anyway, and who wants to add food to that? True. Right? I mean, it's just true. I mean, and there are a lot of people that I think that kind of pressure is overwhelming. And like you said, well, I don't want to have to deal with that. And so they just give in. And then before you know it, you're in the eating season and it's been several months and that you're off track.
Yeah. The eating season ended 3 months ago, but you're still in it.
Yes, exactly. And so I think coming up with strategies to first recognize that tendency within yourself and
Mhm.
then recognize that tendency in others is going to be your best friend. As you said, I do think that you need to give yourself some grace.
Mhm.
I personally, as I mentioned before, I've never really intentionally eaten off plan. And I'm the jerk I'm bringing keto food with me
Yeah,
to
I would too.
yeah. Or if you have it at my house, they know to expect a keto meal. And if
Yeah,
you want something else, I'm not offended if people bring rolls or mashed
exactly.
potatoes or whatever. You eat what you want. I'm making what I can eat.
Yep.
So, I'm that person. And I guess I probably had an easier time getting through my first holidays, even though they were hard. It was more just hard for me because I was avoiding things that I liked.
Right.
And it was more getting through that personal
Yeah.
disassociation versus the peer pressure. But the peer pressure is really hard. And so I think that once we recognize that that's what it is, that it's not that people are angry with you because they're mad really at food. It's that they're mad that you've done something different.
Yep.
And that's kind of threatening
Mhm.
in a way. It really can be very threatening because, as we said, there's this idea of they're perfect Leave It to Beaver Christmas, and
Yeah.
you've just stomped all over it by
Yep.
bringing that cauli mash, you know? So
Which properly prepared, they'll never know.
they might never know exactly. I think as it, the way to approach it really, I would say is going to depend more on whether or not you're hosting or you're a guest.
Right.
If you're a guest, you really need to discuss it with your host ahead of
Mhm.
time. I mean, and you don't have to be rude. Remember that, they are, that this is just as jarring for them as it is for you.
Yep.
And many of them may not understand because a lot of people really just don't understand keto, or, everybody's been told for 8,000 years that you can have everything in moderation, and it's a
Right.
holiday. You can't just for the holiday. So, people may not understand, but I think that if you are kind about it
Mhm.
and explain that, look, I'm doing this for my health,
Yep.
and I really, for health reasons, need to avoid certain types of foods. Is it okay if I bring some things that I can eat?
Yeah.
And you don't, and if you want to bring a huge pile to feed an army and everybody else can eat off of it, great. Or if you just want to bring a few things that
Mhm.
is just for you, great. I do recommend bringing extras because keto food is good and people will eat it.
Yes.
Then yeah, but you do need to discuss that with your host up
Yep.
front and offer to help, offer to be helpful.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to change your entire menu for me. You guys make what you're going to make, but I need to make sure that there's some things there that I can eat. So I'm probably going to bring a few things just to supplement to make
Yep.
sure that, I'm okay. If you're hosting, again, just communicate with your guests. This is how I eat. This is what I'm making.
Yep.
And if you have some traditional dishes that you really can't do without, please feel free to bring them.
Mhm.
I think if you're just nice about it and you're open to, yes, there's going to be this other food here,
Yep.
and you're probably not going to be able to eat it, but that's okay.
Yep.
Then most people are usually pretty okay with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
took a big breath.
I'm writing and thinking, and it doesn't always go together well at the same time. But yeah, like you said, offering to help. Say, hey,
Mhm.
is there anything I can, what are you planning on having? Can I bring something, something also? So we always will do a large side dish, for example.
Mhm.
As we discussed before we started the cauliflower cheese bake, I call mine a cauliflower mac and cheese, and I've had people come back to me and say that was great mac and cheese.
Mhm.
There wasn't a drop of pasta in it. That was
Yep.
cauliflower. No, it was cauliflower, and they had no clue.
Mhm.
And also something to keep in mind is usually if you're going to someone's house for the holidays, there's going to be a meat. So you've
Mhm.
already got your proteins. Now, granted, it may be glazed or something like that. Okay, understand you may have a little more than you would normally eat in a day for your sugar intake, but It's going to be minimal when it's over the meat like that, but you're going to have turkey, ham, maybe a prime rib if you're got really nice hosts. So the meat's taken care of. It's the sides and the desserts that you're going to have to finagle and work around, and go from there. But like you said, just offer, hey, what can I bring? What can I do? And most
Absolutely.
people are going to say, oh, great, and offer to bring enough for everybody to share.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe get in line first just to make sure you get some. Because like you said, everybody loves it. I have yet to take a keto dish to a church function or have people over to my house to go, I couldn't handle that. That was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
It's always
Oh,
gone.
same. Yeah,
Every
it's
time.
always gone. Yeah. No, you're right about that. I mean, and so, and like I said, I think that as long as you're approaching people with love
Mm-hmm.
and are kind about it, most people are pretty understanding. Now, the next step, of course, now that you've got what you're going to eat down, it's a matter of what happens when you get there and there are all these things there.
Yes.
I do think that while I eat keto, but if you have a bite of something, don't immediately start beating yourself up. I'm not encouraging that. I'm not going to be like, hey, go face first into the pecan pie. All right. I don't think you should do that.
Right.
But if you have a bite of something that is off plan, you are more likely to dive face first into something you shouldn't be, or to go on a binge for the next 3 months if you feel guilty and awful and start beating yourself up about it. It's that guilt train, and it's like, well, I've already messed it up. I might as well go whole hog. Give yourself some grace. If you go and you decide to have a bite of something, you know what? It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, or you're at your very next meal, just right back on track, and you will be fine.
Yep.
So if you keep that in the back of your mind, you are much less likely to fall, completely than you are to just take things in stride and move on.
Yeah.
And then, additionally, I think the next problem really is once you get past yourself,
mm-hmm.
it's other people. It's you and other people. It's you and your hangups and other people and their hangups.
Yep.
And that's what you have to deal with, at the table, at family gatherings, and at the holidays. And so you just have to be prepared for, there may be issues, but okay. Like I said, I'm very much a whatever, and I let things roll off of me. But if it's going to bother you, that grandma's upset that you didn't have a piece of her pie, then, maybe you explain to grandma ahead of time, hey, grandma, I love you, and I'm super excited to see you, but I'm doing this for my health. I'm on, you can be honest, it's a diabetic style diet, or an anti-inflammatory style diet, for X, Y, or Z condition, And so I really have to stay out of this stuff for health reasons right now, but I still love you. And, I just want you to know, then, it's not because I'm upset with you or angry at you or whatever. Because a lot of people, they think that they've done something. They take it personally when you don't eat I've done something wrong, and they're angry at me. And that's not the case.
And let them know, hey, what we'll do is we'll sit down and talk and have a good time. I'll have my cup of coffee while
mm-hmm.
you enjoy it. So that
mm-hmm.
way we're still spending time together. Your dessert is still being enjoyed, and we're here for each other, not for the,
mm-hmm.
like you said, it's not for the food,
mm-hmm.
and helping people understand that. So that's part of the conversation also, just say, hey,
absolutely,
let's just spend time together, and I'll enjoy you enjoying it,
mm-hmm.
And go from there.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, I do want to say, I think that for most people, this is probably going to be a multi-holiday process.
Mm-hmm.
I am probably, and I think you probably are too, I'm much more comfortable with having those conversations 5.5 years in than I was the first year.
Yeah.
And so if you are somebody who just is not comfortable with that, that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a failure, and it doesn't mean you're going to fail at keto. It just means you may have to think a little harder about how to approach it. Maybe it means that grandma cuts you a piece of pie, and you know what? I am so full right now. Can you wrap that up for me and I'll take it home?
Yep.
and you just don't eat it later.
I did note you said you'll take it home. You didn't say I'll take it home and have it later.
Yeah, I'll take it home.
I'll take it home.
I'll take it home. It might get eaten by somebody else in the house.
Yep. There's time. I mean, I've had times it's like you graciously accept. Thank you very much. It's not worth the explanation. It goes home and it just never gets eaten.
Yes.
Or
Or
you give it to somebody else.
I've accidentally forgotten to take my piece of pie home before as well. So I have a relative who we love to death, but insists on making a regular pumpkin pie for everyone at all the holidays. And it's like, but we don't, not only, it's not just me at this point, my kids and my husband won't eat it either. I have a pumpkin recipe that they really like and it's keto and that's what we go with. But she insists on bringing it, and it doesn't matter how many times I've been like, it's a waste of your money and your ingredients. It's not going to get eaten. She brings it anyway. And so, okay, thank you so much. And I have walked out without it before. I've got everything, and then stick everything in the car and get the heck out of there. So you don't, because your goal is not, it is never to hurt people's feelings.
Right.
It isn't. And I think that is probably a huge key, is just don't go in feeling like you're going to have a confrontation. Don't go in nervous and expecting to be arguing with people, because then you're probably going to react negatively and it will be an argument if you're defensive and nasty about it.
And I think that might be part of some people's problem is they go in, oh no, this is going to happen. We're going to talk, and they're not going to be happy with me. And so back to the expectations, now a different kind. Now, before the expectation is these foods in the holidays. Now it's this expectation you've built up of an explosion that's going to happen. And you create an issue that actually never existed. And when they say something, you're all automatically got your fists up ready to fight back, instead of being calm and gracious to them, not only having grace for yourself, but to them, to, hey, thank you, I love you, but unfortunately, because of my health and everything, I'm trying to get healthier, I'm trying to lose weight, and I'm gonna have to decline in some form. Let them know that, instead of being ready for the fight, and then it really does get ugly because you're waiting for a fight.
Yes. And I think another really good thing to remember, when people are defensive about it, and this is one of those psychology things, this is, I don't know, maybe this is mumbo jumbo, but my theory about why some people get so nasty about you having changed your diet, it sort of runs along the same lines of homeschooling. Anybody who's homeschooling, you've gotten the nasty reaction before.
Sure.
And I really think it's a subconscious thing, but I think that people feel judged, even though you haven't judged them and you haven't expressed them or expressed anything judgy to them, that you have chosen to do something different, and that you obviously feel this is a better way, or you wouldn't be doing it. I think that people internalize that as some kind of well, you're judging me as unhealthy, or you're judging me as unfit, or you're judging my parenting style as poor, or whatever you want to translate it to. And I do think that translates over into food issues as well, and especially around the holidays when you've got all these other pressures on top of it. If people feel like you have judged them for, their eating habits, even if you haven't, they're going to be more defensive and more likely to try to bully you into eating, what they want you to eat, or be angry that you didn't bring, your traditional dish instead of whatever it was you brought instead. And so that's why I say, communication, it really is the key. And what you were saying, don't go in prep for a fight. Just roll with it. And most people, I think if you can calmly explain that, I'm having these health problems and I'm really trying to get them fixed. And so it's just best for me health wise if I stick to this. And that's why I'm doing this. But I still love you. And, I'm not trying to ruin your holiday parade. I'm not trying to mess it up. So if you want this and you want to bring it, great. It just being open with people, that doesn't mean you give them a keto lecture.
No.
I actually say avoid lecturing it. And if people ask you about it, you can explain but I wouldn't even get too animated about it. You know,
Right.
have like a 1 or 2 minute elevator speech that, you know, well, it's very low carbohydrate and I'm having blood sugar problems. And
Yep.
so just eating really low carb helps me to keep my blood sugar and insulin in line.
Yep.
You know, just something very quick and easy so that they understand that this isn't a fad. It's not a cabbage soup diet or an egg fast or, you know, a shake diet that you're going to get off, that you've changed your lifestyle for a health purpose.
Right.
And you're just trying to do something for you, and it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. I think that approaching it that way, and like I said, just being honest and remembering where you came from and that you may have been that person a year ago that would have been upset about it, I think will make it easier for you to cut other people some slack and not be, you know, really defensive and upset about it too. Because it can be, like I said, holidays are just, they are a mess. They're a mess. We're with all these people we love, but I mean, you know, do families ever get together and like there isn't some tension somewhere because somebody didn't agree with someone about there's always something. So, you know,
the old saying that family are like fish. If they've been left out or left together for more than 3 days, they start to stink. So, you know, it's like there's that always something that we get agitated about. It's always stupid, almost always. You know, it's worthless. But we need to understand, okay, people may not, they may not understand what we're coming from. So we just very politely decline as best we can. And if they keep pushing, it may get to a point you just have to say, no, thank you. And please don't ask again. You know, you know, being a little short with them without being obnoxious about it, basically. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. But no, my health, I need to get healthy and this will not help me.
Absolutely.
And let them know you need to, you know, very politely let them know, don't ask again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people should be afraid to stand up for themselves at all. I agree with that. I mean, you know, understand why you're doing it and stand firm in it. How you choose to approach that may vary depending on, you know, what kind of a person you are, what your personality is, how likely you are to just let things roll, or is it going to upset you if someone pressures you? You know, I mean, I could conceivably see, you know, if it's going to really cause a problem, putting something on your plate and eating around it.
Yeah.
You know, if your Aunt Jane is going to be that upset because you didn't have her marshmallow smothered sweet potatoes, then you put a spoonful on your plate and you eat everything else around it. She's not going to be watching you like, oh. If anybody is watching you and staring at you to wait to see if you've taken a bite of this food, there's something wrong with, you're not the problem. And even if there is an explosion over that, oh gosh, don't even feel bad about that. That's not you. That's them. Most people aren't paying attention to that at all. If they see you put a spoonful of it on your plate, they're going to leave you alone about it. They'll assume you took a bite of it. Exactly. I mean, so, you know, like I said, I just think that's not what I do personally. I just put on my plate what I'm going to eat. But, you know, for strategies for people who are in different situations or who have different personalities, you do what you have to do to keep the peace, you know, without compromising your health. That's really what all of it is about. You want to try to be as kind as possible and give grace. And if you've got to, you know, put something on your plate to kind of give the appearance that, that was great, or oh, I'm just so full, you know, then that's what you have to do. You know, it's the food itself is just not worth the fight. It's not worth the fight. You know what you need to do to be healthy. So you do what you need to be healthy, and, you know, don't spend a whole lot of time arguing with other people about it. It's not worth your effort. It's not worth the mental anguish. It's not worth somebody being angry with you until Easter. You know, it's just not. So those are my thoughts on it anyway. I mean, I know that there are people that, and the opinion on this really varies in the community too. You know, as I said, I'm the person that I'm keto all the time. From other corners, you're going to get, well, it's just one day of the year. and
Right.
go enjoy yourself.
Sure.
And, you know, that could be a strategy too if you are not somebody who has a hard time with just getting right back on the wagon. If you're
Correct.
that disciplined enough that one day of eating that way isn't going to throw you off for a year, then that may be something that you decide to do. You know, but I'm personally friends with people on the other side of the spectrum that, I mean, they can't even be around it.
Right.
You know, so they host everything, and everything in their house is keto, you know, and the only thing that is not keto that people are allowed to bring are things that they don't like.
Yeah.
You know, so they're not tempted by it.
Yep.
You have to know you, and you have to know what your limits are,
Yeah.
and what your tolerance is,
And
then go with it that way.
And the longer you do it, the better you're going to get at things. So in the past, I was the one that family wasn't the problem. They understood, they were happy, and there was always something to eat, but it was always a case of, oh, I haven't had that in a while. I'll have a piece. And then the next day it's like, well, I did it yesterday. Why not do it again today? And then it built up
That
to
would be
6 months
me.
later.
Yes.
And now I'm to the point, if I actually made that decision to, hey, you know what? We're all together. I'm just going to have a little bit of everything. Next meal it's back to normal. So I've progressed and improved over the years, just because it's, you know, I'm 3 years into it now, living consistently. And so now I understand how my body works, why it works, you know, as we discussed on the prior podcast, that when I do eat something I shouldn't, I didn't gain 10 pounds. I inflamed my body and put on water weight. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to feel bad for a week or two, and I'm going to get over it, and life will go on.
Absolutely.
But if
I mean, that's what it's all about. It's really just all about fitting. It's not a religion. I know I said it the last time. Keto is not a religion. It is a way that you're eating, and you have to fit it comfortably into your life.
Yes.
You know, I am at the point now, and this is probably going to blow some minds, but I'm at the point now at 5 years in that, like, I'm so free from all the holiday, like what it has to be. And it was a freeing thing when I had this revelation that we don't eat traditional holiday food at the holidays. We eat whatever it is that we happen to want. And that sounds crazy because it's like, well, you feel like you have to have these dishes.
Yes.
You know, well, but this is holiday food. It was probably a year or two back that I sat down, and I've been doing keto holidays for a long time now. And let me tell you, if you can't find it on my website, you will find whatever it is that is your favorite holiday food that you think you have to have. It is out there, and it is keto.
Yeah.
Somebody has made it. If it's, like I said, if it is not at myketogenickitchen.com, it is going to be on Carolyn Ketchum's site or Maria Emmerich's site, or, you know, the Peace, Love, and Low Carb. I mean, there's so many low carb and keto sites, or Corey's site. You know, you're going to find it. I sat down a couple of years ago with my husband to plan out, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I'm trying to figure out what to serve. And he says to me, I'm like, what would you like? He goes, I'm going to be honest with you. He goes, and this is sort of a family thing with him. His brothers are like this and everything. He's like, there's like a texture issue. Okay. And so anything that is mushy, he's like, just not excited about it. Okay. And he's like, I don't like mushy brown food. And he's like, Thanksgiving and Christmas food, everything on the table is like a casserole or something that is just like mushy and brown. He's like, and I just don't find that appealing. He's like, I don't care what you make. He's like, I don't want a table full of mushy and brown. Okay. And it occurred to me, I'm like, well, why am I making all of this stuff if you don't like it? You know, I like some of it, but, you know, it's holiday food. I only have it the once a year. And so that year, it was just such a revelation to me. I think it was like Christmas Day, and we had sous vide steak and crab. Yeah. And I mean, gosh, I want to say I made like jalapeno poppers with it, like the bacon wrap. Who's eating jalapeno poppers? But that's become a tradition now.
You might as well.
Everybody likes them. Everyone likes bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. And so I started making them that year. And now when we have a holiday, what would you like me to make? And my daughter and my son and my husband, it's usually ham for my son. He likes ham.
Okay.
And I have a glazed ham that he really likes. My daughter wants cauli mash and deviled eggs, and my husband wants jalapeno poppers. So it was funny, last year at Thanksgiving, we did a big get together with my in-laws, and they're like, well, you can bring whatever keto food you want. And I'm like, I'm bringing poppers. And they're like, that's the weirdest thing ever.
But it's our family.
I brought like a couple of pounds worth of jalapeno poppers, and not one of them was left.
Oh yeah.
I did not take any leftovers home. Everybody ate them and raved about how good they were.
Yep.
And who's bringing poppers to Thanksgiving? Nobody but me.
Yep.
So, it's what you were saying earlier. Nobody's going to complain because the food is good.
Yeah.
Once they taste it, it's really good. And there's no reason to be upset about that.
Yeah. And
I'm like looking at my thing here to see if I can. I'm so sorry. This is getting so weird. I'm like,
you've had that halo effect going on around you. For those that are listening, go to the YouTube and catch it. And the sun's coming in from behind, and
it is so coming in from behind. I'm gonna
go fix it.
I'm gonna go get this other one. That should be better.
Yeah.
There might be a little halo, but it should be a lot less. It should be like a lot less, like coming off my glasses. I could see the glare and everything. I don't have one of those fancy, like the big ring lights to put up, so I can't go sit in a dark room. I have to sit out in my office.
I have LED lights hanging over my head. So
yeah, no, the LED lights don't work very well for people that have glasses either. I have one tiny one that I used to put on the top of this to do lives in the kitchen group, and you could always see the big halo ring in my glasses, and I looked really silly. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go sit out in the library. It's bright, it's sunny.
Yep, that works.
Now it's a little too sunny, so sorry guys.
That's all right.
Weirdest podcast guest ever.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm an odd one, but it is what it is.
And something that what came to mind when you started talking about, okay, what did your husband really want? And now it's what you normally make. So people can also take a step back and go, this is going to blow minds also. Ready? You can make new traditions.
Yes, you can make your own traditions. That's right.
Early on in our marriage, it's like, okay, what do we do for the holidays? Now, granted, we were across the country from everybody at that time, but even when we moved closer, it's like, well, growing up, my family always went up and visited grandparents for Thanksgiving. And so, okay, are we going to do that? Or are we not going to do that? Are we going to do it for Christmas? And we just prefer to spend the holidays with ourselves and not worry about it. It's a lot less stress. There's no travel involved. So you can make your own traditions for your own family. And as you've already found, you can bring something, and that tradition can spread to other parts of the family.
Absolutely. It's funny. We do the same thing. My family is in Northeast Florida, so they're like a good 3 hours away from us. His family is like a good hour and a half away, south of us. And so we are very frequently, because either way, it's a really long drive. And my husband works full time. So he normally only has the one day off. If it's Thanksgiving, he has Thanksgiving day off. Christmas, he has Christmas day off. He even works Christmas Eve. He works the day after Christmas.
Wow.
So it's just the one day that he has off, and it's a lot to pack everybody up in the car. And, even if it's the closer relatives, an hour and a half back, that's 3 hours you've spent in the car to go sit for 2 or 3 hours.
The prep time to get there, to get in the car to go. And then of course, everything to clean up when you get home. You need a day off the next day to recover from your day.
Yeah. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. And then my poor husband has to get up and go to work the next day. So so we do our own thing at home many times. And, I want to say, and again, this is probably a personality thing, but it's also further experience, being a little isolated from everybody. And then also, for religious reasons, my family is very Protestant. I converted to Catholicism as an adult, and then my husband followed me, and we're really the only Catholics in the family. So we didn't grow up doing Advent and St. Nicholas Day and the
Right.
wreaths and the readings and not putting your tree up till later. And Christmas is sort of backwards from what most people do. Most people do like all the Christmas stuff up to the day, and then they're pulling everything down the day
Right.
after, as where you've got Advent and then your Christmas starts on Christmas Eve and you've got like a couple of weeks after.
Right.
So we've already had to flip things around and change them more than once, when we moved away, and then again when we converted, to Catholicism, and then now that I'm keto and we're all eating this way, we've just kind of over the years, it's okay if it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's got to be, because this is what life is at this point, And I know people that, like I said, people are just, their minds are blown.
Yeah.
When they hear that, well, we stay home and we don't travel to everywhere, and we have steak and jalapeno poppers and all kinds of, I've made ice cream for dessert for Christmas, because that's what my kids wanted. What would you like for dessert? Would you like a pie? Would you like a cake? Can you make ice cream? Okay, I'll make ice cream.
Yep.
And
sounds like my kids.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a celebration. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be spending time with your loved ones and being happy and enjoying yourself. And if you're going to be miserable and not, like my poor husband, apparently all those years, and not enjoying the food, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I'm not looking to be miserable. I'm looking to be happy and as laid back as humanly possible.
A joyous occasion.
Yeah.
The holidays are supposed to be a good time, to just have a good time with family, whether it's immediate or extended. And celebrate all that's going on. But yeah, like you said, it's not supposed to be miserable, but we make it very easily.
Yes.
So what are some tips you would give people that their problem is the temptations? That dessert table is calling my name, and that's the cheesecake right there. I see it. That's the one that so that was all usually my downfall was the dessert table. And so what are some tips you would give the people to say, okay, here's some ways you can fight those temptations?
Well, the first thing would be to fill up, on the meats and the other stuff. If you're full, you're less likely to go dive into the desserts. My second tip would be, as I said earlier, pretty much every dessert that you are tempted by, there is going to be a keto version of it.
Yeah.
So if there is something or multiple somethings that you really want, bring them.
Yep.
Or make them, and put them on your table. There's no reason that if you really like pumpkin pie, there's no reason you have to turn down pumpkin pie. You can have pumpkin pie. You just have to make it a little bit differently. And it's still really rich and good. We are using real cream and butter in all of this stuff. It's rich.
Yes. I
mean, keto desserts are really rich. So like I said, there's just no reason that you have to avoid it. You just have to avoid the non-keto versions of it. That's really all there is to it. I would say, so like I said, I would say that if there are things that that you're going to be tempted by, find a good keto version of it and bring that. I do recommend that you don't make things for the first time the day of, because that's a recipe for, this didn't turn out the way I wanted it, or I need to try another recipe to try to get it closer. And now I've got to go sit and suffer with this that I don't like so much and watch everybody else eat the stuff I wanted. Yeah. So, try some things out leading up to it. We've got a month here in the US, most of a month for before Thanksgiving, and the better part of 2 months for Christmas. So you have plenty of time to do some trial runs.
Yeah.
I would also say, again, give yourself some grace. If you do decide to have a bite, don't kick yourself, but know yourself well enough to know that if you are the kind of person that is going to have a bite and then is going to eat 3 plates full of it, that you have to avoid it.
Yeah.
You simply do. Gosh.
I would say
the dessert table. Yeah. The dessert table is, it's not really any different than the regular table. It's just sweet, and we hit that sweet just hits that spot in your head. Yes, it really does.
This will depend on your family. So if your family is in any way supportive of you, say, hey, folks, look, if you see me going, if you see me getting, walk up and remind me. No, you told me to tell you not to do this. And that, you may still look at them and say, fine, I've decided I'm doing it. But having that extra support, if you have it on the back end, is very beneficial because they're keeping an eye out for you. So that's something else that you might be able to do also, if you got people that, even if they don't understand, but they're willing to help you out, just to have them say something to you.
Well, and along those lines, if you have a diet buddy, you have a good friend that is either doing keto and is doing it along with you. If you're in one of the support groups, we've got a bunch of them, Ketogenic Success or My Ketogenic Kitchen on Facebook. There is nothing wrong with being accountable to the people in those groups or having a friend, even if they're not keto. Hey, may I message you later, or would you mind texting me to check in on me to make sure I'm doing okay? Having somebody that having somebody that you're accountable to, that makes a difference. It really does. There's like a mental, I've got to check in with this person, so I can't hide it. And that makes a big difference. If you have a coach, I know a lot of people do the coaching thing. If you have a coach, be accountable to your coach and, tell them, don't be the person that tells them a week later, well, I fell off the wagon. That can't help. That's not going to help you. Tell them immediately, I'm having a hard time. But I think having somebody to talk with it, be it, a friend, a coach, one of the support groups on Facebook, and just having people there to help you, talk you through it, that it's going to be okay. And you're not going to die if you don't have that bite. I think that's going to be a big mental help to you, knowing that you're not alone.
That'll help out tremendously.
I think that's a lot. I do think that is a lot of people's problem too. In addition to all the things we talked about, you can kind of feel alone because these are social things, and this feasting is a social thing, and feasting on these particular things is a social thing, and suddenly you're in the out group.
And there may be times you're the only one there, so literally you may be alone, and yet you're not. You have resources and people and friends that they care about you, they love you, and use them. Take advantage of what's there. So speaking of food, it is the holidays. How about some recipes that you would recommend people take a look at myketogenickitchen.com? And for those that are, if you haven't visited the website yet, click on recipes, scroll down to see holiday, and I'm looking at several recipes on here.
There's a bunch.
Oh, pink stuff. We used to make something called pink slime, so I'm gonna have to look at this and see if it's anything similar to what we used to make.
It might be the same thing. My aunt made pink stuff. My Aunt Robin, whom I adore. I actually think I even look like her. She and I are probably the most alike personality-wise. She's the one who taught me to make chocolate chip cookies back in the day. And she makes pink stuff. She makes pink stuff for all the special occasions. And it's basically like a fluffy Jell-O salad. It's like Jell-O with some people put cottage cheese in it. You can put Cool Whip in it. It's to make it really, really kind of fluffy.
Really fluffy.
And then like you can put marshmallows and nuts and things like that in it. And so I made a ketofied version of that.
It looks very similar to what the pink slime we used to have for the holidays too.
Yeah, it's just a Jell-O salad, but it's very good. It's super tasty. So there's that. I have a really good, this is probably my favorite. It is brown. So my husband's mushy? Like, whatever. Well, it's keto bread based, so there's a mush to it, but it's not super mushy. I make a knockoff cornbread stuffing. Obviously, there is no real cornbread in it, but my granny's cornbread dressing was something that I just had to have at every holiday, and it wasn't the holiday for me without it. And so early on, I figured out how to make. I make these muffins that are like a kind of a fluffy muffin to serve as like the white bread. And then I make a cornbread that's a crackling cornbread. So there's
Okay.
no actual cornmeal in it. It's a ketofied version of this, but crackling cornbread has pork cracklings in it.
Yep.
And so I use pork rinds as part of it. And all that collagen and gelatin in the pork rinds that's in this cornbread, when you crumble all this stuff together and then you mix it with the other ingredients and you bake it, it stays super moist on the inside of it, like in the middle of the dressing. Because that is one thing about Southern style dressings, because you don't stuff it in the bird.
Right.
Dressing it's the same stuff that's in stuffing. You just put it in a pan and you bake it. But a lot of times it bakes so long that some people's are dry.
Yeah.
And that's one of the complaints about dressing is you've got cornbread instead of white bread, so it's a little drier, or it's a little grittier anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's dry on top of it. So because of all that collagen and gelatin in the pork rinds that I put in this, the middle of it stays super, super moist, but it gets like really crispy on the top as it bakes like a bread should.
Yeah.
And so I'm particularly proud of that recipe, because that was a couple of years worth of experimentation to get that one right. If you're a pumpkin pie lover, I actually have 2 types of pumpkin desserts on there and they're both great. The first one is, I call it upside down pumpkin pie, but it's like a pumpkin crunch bar. Yep. The pumpkin filling, it's just your pie filling that, you make with puree and heavy cream and eggs and stuff. And that goes on the bottom. And then it's like a cakey on the top, but it's not squishy cakey. Classic pumpkin crunch bars, you'd put the pie stuff on the bottom and you use cake mix, and then you put butter over the top of it. So it's almond meal and a few things like that would go in a keto cake mix that I've sprinkled over the top, and you put butter on it and you bake up, and it gets like crispy and crunchy on the top, and you've got the pumpkin on the bottom. I actually just took that last week to an American Heritage Girl meeting. My daughter is an American Heritage Girl, and they're working on their cooking badge. And they were supposed to bring in like a cookie or a bar. Okay. And so one of the little boys has some kind of an allergy, so it sort of knocked out one of the things we wanted to do. And Laura's like, well, let's do the pumpkin bars. Okay. And they were a huge hit. Yeah. I mean, if they did not know that I am a keto person and I don't make anything, they were like, we would have never known. No, they would not have known. So that one is great. I have an actual pumpkin pie that I call my saucy ginger. There's booze in it. And that one's really good. Lots of ginger, and there's, like I said, there's booze. There's a good bourbon in it. So if it's a little more of an adult celebration, that might be a good option. For pecan pie lovers, I'm hoping to have it on the website before we get to Thanksgiving. I'm working on pecan pie bars. I've got a couple of tweaks I want to do to it, so I'm hoping I'll have it ready before we get there. So keep your eye out for that. But if not Thanksgiving, it'll be Christmas. But I do have on there pecan tassies. Okay. So they're little like the mini muffins. That's, you make it in the mini muffin cups. Okay. And it's got like the crust that I make. It's actually, you're gonna laugh, it's cream cheese based, but it does kind of come out. It's not flaky like a real crust, but it's reminiscent of being flaky like a real crust. And it's got like a gooey pecan filling in it. And so those are really good. I've got a whole pile of casseroles. Like there's a really good green bean casserole on there. I've got a broccoli and cheese casserole if you prefer that. I don't think I have a turkey recipe because I don't really like turkey.
Turkey is turkey anyway. I mean, just don't brine it in sugar. If you brine it, salt water and some spices and maybe some citrus if you prefer a citrus. Just don't use sugar. Yeah. It's not that difficult.
I do have a good ham recipe on there, though. It's a bourbon glazed ham, and that one is really good. That's the ham that my son requests at just about every holiday. Please make your bourbon ham. Okay. So there's a whole pile of options on there. I mean, I could probably, if I sat and thought about it, I could probably go on for another hour about the different recipes I have on there for holidays. But there are a ton. There are a ton on there, and they're a little Southern.
Yeah, well, that's okay. The Southerners usually do a little better, but not to insult everybody else. And for those that are stuck with the traditional holidays, she also has a tarted up cranberry sauce. So you can have cranberry sauce for the holidays.
Yes, I do. And it does not get the crunchies in it. there's a couple of, I list out how to do it too, because I think we talked about this last time, or we may not. I think we talked about erythritol briefly, but a lot of the sugar alcohols, the sweeteners that we use, it's going to be like xylitol or erythritol. Sometimes even the monk fruit, and I think it's because it's blended with sugar alcohols normally.
Yep.
When they get really hot or really cold, they tend to recrystallize. So like if you were to make jelly,
yep,
for example, and you use erythritol and you've boiled or cooked down, your strawberries or whatever it is, and you have the erythritol in there boiling with it, it doesn't caramelize like sugar does.
Right.
And so it doesn't stay broken down. When you cool it and you refrigerate it, you end up with like little chunks of crunchy crystals because the erythritol or the xylitol. The xylitol takes a little bit longer. I want to say it's pretty immediate. It's usually within 24 hours. With erythritol, you'll have crunchies in it. Xylitol, it'll be a couple of days.
Okay.
But it does eventually recrystallize. Allulose does not, if you use that. So you can use that in anything that you have to boil. Okay. But for this particular recipe, I actually did use erythritol. I used Swerve for the cranberry sauce. And the trick is in the way I made it. It's when I added it to the recipe.
Okay.
I added it after you pull it off the heat. And what that does is it keeps your erythritol from heating too far.
Right.
So that when it cools off, because it's that super heat.
Recrystallize.
Yes, it's the superheating and then the super cooling. That's what causes it to recrystallize. So it never gets hot enough for it to do that crystallization crunchy thing. Okay. And so this sauce actually stays pretty smooth. And you can, if you want to like blend it down really far so that it's my friend Linda, actually one year she made that cranberry sauce and she blended the end product so that it didn't have any whole berries in it, the chunks. Yep. I like mine a little chunkier. She didn't. And then she even took a can and like cleaned it out and put it in the can for it to set up so she could slice it. Yes. Yes, she did that. And I'm like, okay, but it works. So it works. That's all that matters. And I have a twist on the cranberry sauce too. I believe it's called cranberry fluff or no. It's something like a cranberry fluff, but it has the cranberry sauce on the bottom, and then it has like a whipped cream with a little bit of.
It's cranberry fluff.
Yeah, it's cranberry fluff, and it also has. I use a couple of different extracts to get like a little bit of I think I put lemon or pineapple in it, one or the other, and coconut and nuts. So there's a really good texture difference. You've got like the jellied cranberry and then sort of almost like a fluffy Cool Whip. And then mixed into all that, there's the crunchy and the flaky. Yeah. And then a little bit of zip from the citrus. And that's a really nice recipe too. That one takes a little prep. Right. So, depending on how much work you want to put into anything, there's a pretty wide variety of really simple things that you can kind of just throw together, or things that maybe take a little more work. So, you have to sit down and decide how much time you have to really futz with things and how proficient you are in the kitchen. If you're not really good with folding and whipping and things like that, stick with simple. Yeah.
And like you already said, practice a couple weeks out, give it a try. Pre-keto, I did that with a pecan pie because I'd never made one before, made it. And it was just a friend of mine and I were living together while we went to college. And I took a bite of it, opened the door to the single wide trailer we were living in, whipped it right out the front door, slammed the door shut. And he's sitting there staring at me like, what did you just do? Walked over, looked at the ingredients. Don't ask me how I completely missed to pour the sugar into it. I did the Caro syrup and everything else.
Oh, no.
So I had enough. I don't know if it was that night or the next day, but I tried it again and like, okay, it just was really bitter. And I could not figure it out. I'm like, missed the main ingredient. And of course, the next day I went out and picked up the aluminum pan that everything was in because the animals had eaten the rest of it for us. It was just, that's always been something we chuckle about every now and then because it just went right out the front door.
Yeah. Yeah. Pecan pie is one that is really hard on keto too, because I mean, it's corn syrup. That's like the main component. And like I said, with the sweeteners that we use, there's issues with them not caramelizing the way you want it to, and they don't quite set right. It's either hard or it's just not that like set but gooey.
Yeah.
There is a new product, and this is actually why I'm doing the pecan bars. There's a new product that I found. I think it's by it's just called Wholesome, I think is the brand name. It's not Wholesome Earth, it's Wholesome.
Okay.
And they do a liquid allulose. It is literally just liquefied allulose. So it's going to caramelize like a sugar will, because allulose behaves better. And it's like pouring, it's not as thick as like a Caro syrup, but it's a syrup. And my trial runs on that, it cooked up the way it was supposed to.
And I am not getting paid for this. Neither is Mandy. It's
no.
wholesomesweet.com.
There you go. Yeah, no, that is not a product anybody has sent me. I happened to stumble upon it in Publix and was like, what?
Yeah, that
what
actually shows it on here. Publix has it. You can order it at Amazon also. I just searched for Wholesome Liquid Allulose, and allulose is ALLULOSE. All you lose is allulose. And yeah, it came right up. So if you guys are looking for that also, it's easy to find.
Yes. Yeah. And it works. It works really well.
So we've already gone through everywhere we can find you. So that's myketogenickitchen.com. And you don't have to stick to the holiday recipes. You can be non-traditional and use any of the recipes that are on there. And you can also check out ketogenic-success.com. And also their Facebook group, Ketogenic Success on Facebook, especially if you're one of those people that needs the support of others during this difficult time. For those that are trying to lose weight, get healthy, and feel amazing, it's tough. Mandy and I have both dealt with it and struggled with it, and we've come out the other end successful. So we know you can do it, and it'll take time. Like we've already said, give yourself some grace, take it easy on yourself, and get right back at it the next day if you slip. Or the next meal. Okay, if you do have it, don't do what I've done and ruin it, and a year later decide to do it. It's next meal. I'm back to eating the way I'm supposed to.
And know that both Corey and I have been there.
Yes.
So if you do have a bite, we've done it too at some point.
Yep.
You are not alone.
Yep.
You're going through
everybody's
something.
Everybody's done it.
We've all gone through that. Yeah. You're not by yourself.
Yep. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for joining me today. I know everybody's going to enjoy this, and I'm sure it'll help out many people. And looking forward to if it doesn't, then there's a real problem.
Well, the ones that are going to be laughing at me because of my stupid blinds back here. You know.
It's okay. Hey, we got to have fun sometime, right?
It is what it is.
So thanks for joining us again, and looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Corey. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.